Where do you get your inspiration from?
I do love people watching. Like, I like to think it's curiosity, but it's probably just nosiness on my end. I'm like, oh, what's the handbag? What's the hairstyling? Like,
Mhm.
how are they engaging with each other in this space? How could this space be better well lived, you know? But travel, I think, like, and that kind of goes back to people watching. I'm just like, if you see me in the halls after this, I'll be just like watching people taking it all in. So I think that's where I get it. Yeah.
I love that. And people watching too, it's like you see how people put their outfits together
Mhm.
and what they're wearing. And I feel like there's a lot of sort of inspiration to take from that as well. Color palettes, things like that. And then, of course, when you're traveling anywhere, to just be sitting at a cafe, sipping on rosé and just watching people is amazing. This is where creativity gets lit. I'm talking bold pivots, design funks, and those tiny rituals that keep us grounded. I'm interior designer and creative director Ali Velji, and on AVD Inspire, I sit down with artists, makers, and icons for the real conversations behind the work. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is actually a first for the Interior Design Show Vancouver to do a live recording of my podcast, AVD Inspire. As part of the creative team at Mo's Home Collection, creative director Maura Dineen helps shape the brand's design-forward point of view. Their work centers on curiosity, collaboration, and building design-forward collections that feel bold and long-lasting. And I'm so happy to welcome Maura to AVD Inspire. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Ali. Hello, everyone.
Yes, absolutely. Correct. So tell me a little bit about Mo's Home Collection, what it's all about, and how you got started there.
Okay, so Moe's is a family-run business. It's been in operation for 25 years. I'm sure we have a few locals in the audience who've been to our showroom. We like to think of ourselves as quiet partners for designers, retailers. We're like in the background, no one knows we're there, and we're like bringing the best design forward pieces to your projects. So that's kind of where we fit in. We do a lot of our own in-house design. We work with designers locally. We have our own in-house development and design team, and it's a fun journey to be on. Yeah.
That's amazing. When did you start with Mo's, and what sort of what does creative director mean?
I started with Moe's 6 years ago.
Okay.
So I started as their visual planner. I was doing like their showrooms, and then it kind of morphed into other roles from there. That's the good thing of working with a family business. You kind of get to know them. As creative director, I'm overseeing the creative team, so like brand marketing, and then our showrooms, and then the actual product itself. I would say the majority of my time is spent on design and development of our furniture and collections. So that's kind of where the focus is. And I think for us, it's always kind of going back to our why. We want to create a seamless experience for our clients. So yeah, having design for product, but we like to think that we're bringing, a B2C service level for designers and retailers. And that's what kind of is our, I guess, North Star at most.
I
Yeah.
love that. What a fun
Mhm.
job.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yes.
It's definitely like the playful moments and like the day-to-day stuff that kind of like sparks creativity, meeting designers on the road, things like
Fabulous.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
hmm
So, season 2 of AVD Inspire, the theme is design confessions. So, what is your design confession? Let's spill the tea on something that either if it's like a trend that you're sort of sick and tired of seeing, or if you have something in your home that, is a little, you're like, I can't believe I have that, but I love it. What's your design confession?
I think for me, it's when I go into a space and everything is matching. So
Yes.
like the side table, the coffee table, the console table, the sideboard, I like start to come out in hives. And I'm just like, this is maybe it's like too conforming or like it feels too structured. So I love to have like layered pieces, mixing materials, or if every metal is the same or the stain of wood is
Mhm.
all the same, they're the kind of things that make me feel allergic. Yeah,
Okay, I love that. Design confession, matchy matchy is not good.
not for me.
Okay,
No.
I love it. I love it. Um, you know, all these conversations that I've been having so far at the interior design show with all interior designers, photographers, architects, there's always like a career breakthrough that people have. Do you have sort of a turning point in your sort of career path that got to you where you are at today?
Mm. I feel like I don't know, Ali. I feel like maybe it's kind of the day to day of it. I like to just kind of see where we are today and then like take every step. So, like, building out our development and design team and
Mhm.
also our network of furniture designers, because then you're kind of learning from people and like that humanity in design. So I think it's kind of, I know that's really boring
It's not
answer.
boring, not
It's
at
like
all.
it's the everyday and growing the team and seeing different perspectives that kind of goes, oh, we're getting there together.
I think
That
that's
kind of way.
amazing because you do
Yeah.
work with a team. And I think, again, this whole sort of moment of collaboration, I think, is so
Mhm.
key. And again, something that sort of we've been talking about for a long time is collaboration is where things start to happen, right? And it's like you're good at something, somebody's good at something else, and then you sort of all come together and put your best foot forward and create something that's sort of magical, you know? So I think teams are amazing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the future of design, where do you see sort of interior design, furniture? Where do you see it going? What are you most excited about, and what are you sort of worried about?
Ooh. I think what excites me and the team is kind of seeing people want to do more personal design and more expressive design. I think that's something that we saw like post pandemic. I know nobody wants to talk about the pandemic anymore. It's so many years ago, but I think we definitely saw that shift on the designer and retailer side where people were like, oh, I spent all this time in my home, and people then were like, oh, I don't want this gray sofa, or I don't
Mhm.
want everything to be beige. And I think that was like a turning point. And so I think that's continuing to rise. Like we're seeing expressive marble, like colored marble outperform Carrera marble. So like we never thought we would see that maybe 3, 4 years ago.
Absolutely.
So it's changing and evolving. So that's what I'm excited about.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
What are you worried about?
I think the opposite side of that is like I think maybe an end user thinking they, gonna design their home for, resell or the idea of resell. Because when you chat with like stagers, they're like, oh, the second we started doing homes for sale in a more expressive way, we're selling the homes much faster. So I think it's
Mhm.
like educating homeowners that, yeah, maybe in 5 years or 7 years, you want to sell your home, but you're going to live there for 5 or 7 years or whatever that amount of time is. So make sure it's authentic enough to you and what you do. So yeah,
100%.
no vanilla
Anytime
homes.
anytime we work on a renovation, a new build, people are always talking, like our clients are always like, okay, well, what about the resale moment? And I'm like, why are you worried about that? You should be designing for how you live, not necessarily about if the house is going to sell in 6 years' time, you know? It's like you want to walk in shower, do a walk in shower. You don't necessarily need to
Yeah.
have a bathtub in your ensuite. If you don't
Mhm.
take baths, why is it there? Just don't put it there.
No, you're so right. And like, it's so important to have a designer like yourself and so many designers here today, guiding their end user through that because that authentic living is so important to people. Yeah.
Absolutely. Authentic living. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah, I love that. Um, Timelessness is sort of a word that gets thrown out like quite often. I use it all the time because I feel like that's sort of how I like to design to ensure that my designs are always timeless. But what does that mean to you?
Hmm. I think timeless, you can think of timeless as like an aesthetic thing. So we can think of like rolled arms, ladder back chairs. And I think for us, it's kind of like we talk about like our design pillars or our North Star in terms of design. Like at Mo's, I feel like empathy is the cornerstone of everything we do.
Mhm.
And if you start there, as whether it's designers, retailers, or self Mo's home, it's like we're always thinking about like what's that end user, why are we doing this, and kind of going back to that. And that in itself, I think, is kind of timeless. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes. Well said.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. Welcome. And when it comes to sort of inspiration, you being the creative director at Mo's is probably a lot of work, and you
Mhm.
constantly have to be ahead of the trends. And, a lot of people find inspiration from travel and things like that. Where do you get your inspiration from?
I think it's always a few different places, and I'm
Mhm.
sure it's the same for yourself. I do love people watching. Like, I like to think it's curiosity, but it's probably just nosiness on my end. I'm like, oh, what's the handbag? What's the hairstyling? Like,
Mhm.
how are they engaging with each other in this space? How could this space be better well lived? But travel, I think, like, and that kind of goes back to people watching. I'm just like, if you see me in the halls after this, I'll be just like watching people taking it all in. So I think that's where I get it. Yeah.
I love that. And people watching too, it's like you see how people put their outfits together
Hmm.
and what they're wearing. And I feel like there's a lot of sort of inspiration to take from that as well, color palettes, things like that. And then, of course, when you're traveling anywhere, to just be sitting at a cafe, sipping on rosé and just watching people is amazing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really helps. And like nature, I find like sometimes you're just trying to like, okay, you're on all the platforms to see what's trending in terms of color, but
Mhm.
sometimes you'll go to the beach and you'll just be like, oh, Mother Nature did it again. Like the
Always,
palette.
always does it.
Yeah.
So, speaking of travel, do you have a favorite city that you've been
Mhm.
to?
I should probably say like Dublin because I'm from Ireland, but I really adore New York. I love like that hustle and bustle. It's so fast. Like you cannot stop. Like
No.
do not stop on the street. Keep going.
Someone's gonna yell at you.
Yeah, they're like move on. Like kind of get out of the way. But I feel like there's such like diversity of design in New York, which I
Mhm.
love. And like I love going to like chapters or the Future Perfect
Yeah. Oh, the
or
Future Perfect is incredible.
it's
For those of you that don't know what the Future Perfect is, it's basically a collaboration
Mhm,
of so many different furniture makers,
mhm.
accessories, and basically they've set up this whole shop to be a one-stop shop with the most incredible designers. It's fabulous. You have to check them out if you haven't. It's
Yeah.
it's stunning.
And it's like in a home environment. So you're stripping away all of this like retail space, the heavy overhead lighting. It's like you really feel like you're enveloped in like an environment that's very soothing.
I
Yeah.
think that's so important as well. It's like, I think a lot of retailers are going that route where it's like less about having storefronts, but
Hmm.
more about homes
Yeah.
that are sort of styled and
Hmm.
decorated the way that they see,
Hmm.
with everything pulled together from different spaces to make
Hmm.
spaces feel more curated.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really important,
Yeah.
that curation process in design. So if you had your own podcast, who would you love to interview?
Oh, that's a good one. Yourself, Ali,
Oh,
obviously. Of
I'll take it. Thank you.
but I guess I'd need more than one guest if I was to make a series out of it.
Absolutely.
I love Jonathan Anderson.
Yes.
He's the creative director at Dior, and I just think he has a really good perspective of looking to the
Oh,
past, but also, being very design forward. And I think that alchemy is like really engaging and just the way he speaks to design. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. I love that. So for me, I consider myself to be a scentaholic.
Mhm.
I love scents. I love burning candles. Every time I go into the office or go home at the end of the day, there's always a candle burning all the time. And I love all different types of scents. And I also feel like sometimes that's sort of how my memory sort of is ignited. If I smell something, I'm like, oh my God, I remember where I smelt that. So I always sort of take scents and like it always reminds me of something. So do you have a favorite scent?
I love that about you. That's like amazing mindfulness, like you're creating like engaging all the senses, not
Yes,
just like visual. It's like, the aroma of a space.
absolutely.
I think for me, I grew up by the ocean, so anything with like a sea salt kind of ocean smell, even replica sailing day is
Yes,
like a
beautiful.
go-to for me. But I know I shouldn't be asking you questions, but I want to know what's your go-to scent?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I love anything that's a little bit more spicy,
Mm.
so sandalwood, oud, things like that are always just beautiful for me. And I'm actually wearing Royal Oud right now by Creed, and it's like just the most beautiful scent. And it's so rich and it's so layered. And I also feel like Oud comes from just like a magical place, you know? And I feel like it just smells so good. And I love going into a space that smells good, you know, designed well, smells good, all the things I think really work well into that whole sensory experience. So, yeah. Thanks for
You're
asking me a question.
you're such a layered designer.
Well,
Love
you
it.
know, thank you. I'm also a huge fan of music. I have to have music playing at all times, again, in the office, at home. What are you listening to right now? What's on your current playlist?
Oh, it's like it can go
I
from
love this question so much.
I think I'm doing a like I was laughing. I was chatting to my dad. I was like, "Oh, I love Don Williams." And he was like, "Sorry, excuse me." Like, what? And then but on the other flip side, I love dancing to Cher. Like
Yes,
I just like she's iconic. She's the moment forever and always. And like
absolutely.
I'm sure my neighbors are just like, okay, we're going from country to like you're like pop. What is this person?
Listen, that's diverse. Music is supposed to be diverse. You can't
Yeah.
just listen to one style of music.
No.
You know, I think that, of course, anytime a Cher song comes on, you have to
It's
dance. If
done.
you're not
Yeah.
dancing to a Cher song, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. Straight to jail. Yeah.
Correct. What does your home look like?
My home is very tactile. It's layered. And then I have a dog. So there's a lovely sprinkling of dog hair, regardless of how many times I vacuum the space. I'm literally chasing after him with the vacuum, just being like, this is my life.
What
But
kind of dog do you have?
he's like a half like retriever mix.
Okay.
But he's a big dog and
Oh
he
my
sheds.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's his name?
Ollie, shout out to Ollie.
Ollie.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I have a small little min pin mixed with a chihuahua.
Oh, Chihuahua energy is the
Oh my
best.
God, 100%.
Yeah.
And he's a sassy little,
You need some.
yes, he's so sassy. His name is Espresso because he's literally the color of espresso.
Oh, I love that. And the same energy.
Oh my God. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane.
They're the best.
They
Yeah.
are. They
Mhm.
are. I was never a dog person, but ever since Espresso came into our lives, it's just like, yeah, he gives me all the sass, growls at me, but I still love him to death. We have a love-hate relationship, actually.
Love that for you.
We'll get into that later. That's season 3. Okay, so being a creative director, you have a lot on your plate. Do you ever feel like sometimes you're stuck and you don't know what to do next? And how do you get unstuck in that sort of creative process?
I'm often stuck.
Okay.
It's something I'm used to being. And I'm
Okay.
sure everyone else is if we're being honest with ourselves. I think, you can get lost in the sauce in any line of work. And you kind of have to just go, okay, why are we doing this? What is our goal? And I think sometimes that's how you can like curate or like align yourself with what you're meant to be doing. Because sometimes it can get busy
Yeah.
and you can easily focus on the wrong thing. So I think if you can go back and be like, what's our goal? Who are we servicing? Or, what does my client need to grow their business?
Absolutely.
That will help you kind of like reroute or redirect.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, what we're going to talk about is the amazing fall collection that you have coming up at Moe's, which is super, super exciting.
Mhm.
We're going to get into obviously some of the new collections and tell me about it. Also, tell me about the photography too, because that must be a really fun moment too when you're sort of get a new collection. Where do you photograph it?
This was shot down in LA. Joe, who does our art direction, is always scouting for the best new spot for
Oh
us.
my
So
God.
he headed down to LA and kind of found this beautiful location. It had like beautiful, like kind of Spanish revival kind of style to it. There was a lot of beautiful natural light there.
Just
We're really inspired by like natural materials this season, and we work with like a ton of freelance furniture designers.
okay.
This one designer says who that designed this chair that you're seeing on the screen. And it was that idea of these chunky woven fabrics and then pairing that with like a very modernist base. I mean, like the idea of like mixing materials outdoors. I know I mentioned at the top of our conversation, I don't love matching sets.
Yes.
So I feel like adding in layers to an outdoor space to kind of break it up a bit kind of really helps.
That's
Yeah.
fabulous. And what I love about it is that it doesn't really feel like an outdoor chair. You can use this inside and it would work just as beautifully.
Yeah. And it's so comfortable.
Yeah.
So it can work inside or out. Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Oh, so we got a lot of feedback on, more commercial spaces, hotel spaces. So we brought in the Naomi sofa.
Okay.
It kind of serpentines its way through the space. So there's like a concave and a convex sofa, and it kind of layers together. Our upholstery developer Allison was really into working on like time-worn fabrics. So you've this very like contemporary silhouette of the Naomi sofa, but she's given it like just like a little layer, a nod to the past with this like time-worn fabric to kind of give it that idea that it's been in the light for years. And I think
I
that
love
really resonates.
Yes, yeah. It sort of builds a lot of texture and sort of creates a bit of softness into a space as well. So when it comes to upholstery for, the pieces from Mo's, are you able to sort of switch up fabrics, or is it just a few fabrics that your upholstery sort of moment comes in? How does that work?
Great question. So at Mo's, we don't have a custom COM line for upholstery, but we do a lot of research in terms of like data and trend forecasting on like what's going to resonate with end users in terms of finishes. So we usually, if we're introducing an upholstery piece, we're bringing it in 3 finishes, and we're definitely leaning on data and like client feedback to inform that. So we
Amazing.
hope that we have it kind of filled for you guys when you come and you're like, that's the perfect finish.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Mhm.
incredible. Ooh,
I know.
that's lovely.
Yeah, we're really into like statement stone. And I think I mentioned earlier that, we're seeing expressive marbles outperform more, white marbles and black marbles. This is the segment. It was actually designed by a local furniture design agency called Untitled Agency. And they're just off like First. Really nice, kind of all about the form, simple silhouettes, and we've kind of just updated it in this beautiful panther stone from India, which is just like so beautiful. It's like giving neutral, but with like a little fleck of golds and reds and oranges through it. It's very nice.
Absolutely stunning. And yes, you know what? Even for us as a design firm, we're starting to use a lot more sort of natural stones that are a little bit more textural, that have a little bit more pattern and personality. It just adds so much to a space, whether it's through a countertop or a piece of furniture. I just think it adds so much layers.
And for you, Ali, are you finding that like in larger pieces and smaller pieces in your projects?
Everywhere, like honestly, it's anytime a client says yes, we're like, okay, we'll use it as much as possible.
Run.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. Countertops, backsplash, furniture, everything,
I love that.
And it's one of those things where I also feel like spaces right now with design are feeling more layered and more curated, and you're seeing different forms, and it's less about modern and traditional, but about mixing all these different styles into one. And I feel like that's where the personality comes into a space, so it doesn't feel so boring. Not matchy.
There you go. There you go. It's all about the mix.
Oh, that's cute too.
I know. This one definitely was. We just had our HQ market this week, and we had hundreds of designers and retailers pass through our showroom in Vancouver, and this was the standout piece. We're really inspired by that idea of nostalgia. We're seeing like a millennial market kind of get to that age where they're looking back and going, oh, I remember that detail in my grandparents' house or my parents' house. So we're really inspired by that. We like the idea of like, sometimes you can be messy and sometimes you want to show things off. And I think the Lillian does a really good job of that. It has this drapery front that's removable. So like when you're like, life is chaotic and we all know you can like cover everything up. But then maybe during the holidays when you want to be like, oh, I'm organized.
Yeah.
You can kind of have all your Delph on show. Which
That's
is really
beautiful.
Nice. Yeah.
And the gorgeous thing about this too is that you can sort of change out the fabric too if you want to, and do like a chinoiserie or, a really gorgeous black and white check or something like that, depending on or stripe even, I think would be so cute.
Yeah, I love where your mind goes with that. That's a great idea.
Yes, you can make it custom. I love that. This is a gorgeous bed as well. So this, I feel like the curves is so nice, and it's so in.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing a bit of softness with the
I
curves.
know it's still really prevalent. I think the end user is still craving, the curves and like obviously most people live in a very rectilinear space. We're living in boxy spaces. So I think contrasting that with like curves has really been prevalent for us. This is like fully upholstered with like a little bit of a wood accent. So like bringing in a bit more mixed materials. You
Yes.
still have that soft kind of headboard that you can kind of sink into, which is quite nice. So
It's gorgeous.
it's really pretty
Absolutely.
piece.
I love that. And when you sort of style your shoots, is it a long process? Like how does that work? Because I'm sure I've always been interested when you look at large retailers and seeing how they shoot their collections. And so you're saying that this was actually shot in a home, not like at a
Not in a studio.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So we like to shoot in home spaces. We also do a bit in our own studio
Of
in our
course.
office in Vancouver. For us, it's like as we start product strategy, we're chatting with our creative team about like what is missing. They're also like an end user. We want to be like, what's missing from the assortment? They're starting to think, okay, high level, what are we saying in terms of design direction? And so like it's kind of a long process. And then it gets to the point where we're getting samples in and it's kind of like, that push and pull of like, okay, on paper, I thought this would make sense. Okay. But then when I see it in person, I'm going to like switch this out. So I think it's like you can be really organized and that can take like, 12 months to know. And then it's like in the moment being able to be flexible
Absolutely. And
with
I think
anything.
that's great. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you just never know, right? When you
You never
actually
know.
see go see the space or see the actual furniture piece, you're like, yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah, and
We
I'm
have to change
sure
it.
it's like that in your projects. You'll spec a side table, it gets into the space, and you're like, you know what? That's not always the perfect thing for the space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always find that like anytime there's a mistake or something that happens where it's it just changes the trajectory of the design intent. And sometimes that's the beautiful thing is that if it changes, it's meant to be. And I think so many people sometimes in the industry get so stuck on like a design or no, this is the way it has to be because I wanted the stone. But when you can't get it and you have to sort of pivot, I think it's a lovely mistake sometimes.
I think so. And it offers flexibility of mindset. And that's like for designers or business people, like things are going to change all
Yes,
the
you have
time.
to be open to that.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Beautiful. Okay.
Thank you.
I think that's it. That's all.
Thank you,
Thank you
Ali.
so much for being here, Maura. My goodness, this was a delightful conversation. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me on AVD Inspire. And thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. And make sure you're subscribing to the podcast AVD Inspire on Spotify and on YouTube. Okay. Thanks. Okay, that's a wrap on another episode of AVD Inspire, recorded live at IDS Vancouver inside our Designer Confessions recording booth. A big thank you to our friends at Bureau for making it all possible and making it look super chic. And of course, a special thank you to our guest, Maura Dineen, Creative Director from Mo's Home. I absolutely loved our conversation. And be sure to check out Mo's Home Fall 2025 collection. You can follow them on Instagram at Mo's Home. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe to the AVD Inspire podcast and share it with your amazing design community. I'm Ali Velji, and remember, the right piece of furniture can not only transform a room, but how you live in it. Until next time, I love ya.